Did you know that people used to drink piss for better teeth? Yeah, I'm gonna rip the band-aid off like that. But it's true. Back in ancient Rome, some idiots like Pliny the Elder suggested that it would help with tooth decay, whitening, and get this, my favorite part, bad breath. Think about how rancid your breath has to smell if you think it will smell better if you drink your own piss. And to make it worse, of course, they preferred the piss of young boys. Jesus Christ. Somehow this lasted all the way until the 17th century until they began to question the method. But nowadays we would just call this a weekend at R. Kelly's house. What's up, guys? It's Jared and this is History Bits. Today we're talking about dentists, teeth, and drinking piss. I think that works. I'm not gonna let the rest of this go to waste. And if you want to see more stuff like this, please like and subscribe so I can continue to bring videos to the channel. Thank you for the support, and let's get going. In this video, we're going to talk about the history of dentistry. That includes the good, the bad, and the really, really, really ugly journey to get us where we're at today. Now, I know, a video about dentistry sounds pretty boring, but I do have to ask, does yanking out a tooth with pliers sound boring? I didn't think so. After this video, you are going to be thanking God that you were born at the right time. And it's not because we have meme coins and BBLs in the modern age. Because you will want to thank your dentist after your next teeth cleaning, because the little things like this used to be much, much worse. So let's start from the beginning. Dentistry has come a long way. I mean, just look at this. From the days of torture tools and religious theories, to the high-tech scientific marvel we have today. The field of dentistry has undergone quite the transition. Some of the earliest signs of dental care date way back to the ancient civilizations. Back in the time when people were throwing spears at each other and considered lucky to make it to the age of 30. Archaeological findings suggest that the Sumerians and the Egyptians practiced a few rudimentary forms of dental care. Some of these practices were attempts to treat tooth decay, often using natural substances, like piss. And then, in 5000 BCE, the Sumerians wrote about something called tooth worms, which they believe caused headaches. I mean, we gotta talk about this worm thing for a second. The idea that actual worms cause tooth pain and tooth decay was widely accepted amongst ancient civilizations. These very real worms were thought to burrow in teeth, feeding on tissue and causing excruciating pain. I mean, it could have just been a cavity, but I guess hindsight's 2020. And so they figured, let's remove these worms and maybe all the tooth pain will go away. So guess how they tried to remove them? With rituals and prayers and magical amulets. Nice. Okay, they did use some herbal remedies as well, like henbane seed and beeswax, which doesn't sound too bad. I'll give them that one. The Sumerians' belief in tooth worms may have arisen because of the way tooth decay appeared to progress. As cavities expanded, they often caused pain, and people assumed that living organisms were responsible for the sensation. In ancient Egypt, this belief persisted. Archaeological evidence shows that Egyptians used special tools to extract worms from teeth. Some ancient Egyptian papyrus even documents remedies to kill the tooth worms. I mean, the Egyptians were known for advanced medical technology. But without the concept of bacteria, the idea of worms seems fairly logical for the time. It's funny too because medieval belief was that the tooth worms were attracted to sugar and sweets, like modern day candy. So we gotta give them credit where credit's due. They were pretty close to the mark on this one. Alright, enough with the worm stuff. By 3000 BCE, Egyptians had developed primitive dental tools, such as dental forceps, and evidence exists of early dental prosthetics, which was gold wire was used to bind the teeth together. The famous Egyptian physician, Hesi-Ra, is often referred to as one of the earliest known dentists, as his tomb contained inscriptions detailing his expertise in treating oral issues. I guess you could say he would have loved Dune too. Then, the ancient Greeks and Romans continued to make significant contributions to dentistry. Hippocrates, the Greek physician known as the father of modern medicine, wrote about dental ailments such as tooth extraction, cavities, even gum disease. While he's best known for his contributions to general medicine, his influence extends to many branches of healthcare, including dentistry. He was such a hypocrite. Hippocrates' writings contain some of the earliest references to dental conditions, and his philosophical approach to patient care set the stage for many modern practices in dentistry. His observations and methods laid an important foundation for the development of the dental profession. His life's work revolved around the idea that diseases were caused by natural factors, not divine punishment, and that they could be diagnosed and treated through observation and the application of scientific reasoning. I like this guy. This approach represented a major departure from the superstitions and religious explanations that dominated medical thought at the time. One of the key dental conditions Hippocrates addressed was a toothache, a common ailment in the ancient world. Mountain Dew was the #1 soda of choice in ancient Greece. He suggested methods such as extraction for the teeth that were causing significant pain, as well as the use of herbal concoctions and other remedies to alleviate discomfort. He is credited with recognizing that tooth extraction should be performed with care to avoid damage to the surrounding issues. I don't know how anybody would not realize that tooth extraction should be covered with care. Like, you're ripping a tooth out of somebody's mouth. There's very few things that are as painful as that. We should have known from the dawn of time how painful that is. He notes that excessive consumption of certain foods and the lack of hygiene could contribute to the formation of diseases. Oh, was he right? Now let's push it forward a little bit. During the Middle Ages in Europe, dentistry was not a specialized practice. Instead, you had people called barbers. These barbers performed tasks like bloodletting, shaving, and minor surgeries. So they decided to take on the dental procedures. Because why not? There's no risk in ripping a tooth out. These barber surgeons would perform tooth extractions and treat dental infections. The tools they used, such as pliers and forceps, were crude by today's standards. Now, when I say crude, I cannot understate the severity enough. Not to mention, anesthesia was not a thing yet. So you were wide awake while all this was going on, which made it incredibly traumatic. And to make matters worse, these barbers were far from reputable. Some were legitimate healers, but many took advantage of ignorance and superstition. So they posed as professionals, traveling from town to town, offering dubious treatments to an unsuspecting public. My favorite part about learning about this was that everyone would basically come to the town square and they would watch the traveling dentist call somebody up on stage and pluck those pliers right in there and start to rip out a tooth. What are you waiting for? Rip the ply tooth out! Yeah! But hey, I mean, when you're eating gruel and you live on a farm and it's cold and overcast every day, you do need some form of entertainment, so I get it. These con artists were a major part of the shadowy underbelly of medieval medicine. They promised to cure toothaches, fix misaligned teeth, and solve dental problems. But many of their methods were ineffective or downright dangerous. In most cases, these dentists were frauds. They were charlatans or quacks who exploited people's desperation. And you wonder why people hate dentists. There was no formal training or certification for dentists, and medical practices were often trial and error. As a result, anybody could claim to be a dentist and offer services, regardless of if they ever had any skill or qualifications. Some of the tactics employed by these con artist dentists included miracle elixirs and potions. One of the most common scams involved the sale of miracle cures for toothaches, decay, and gum disease. And these elixirs were usually alcohol or vinegar, or sometimes a mix of both, and they had no healing properties whatsoever. But still, I would take vinegar over piss. Advertised as remedies for tooth pain, bad breath, or even tooth regeneration, these concoctions were sold at inflated prices, taking advantage of the desperate and uninformed public. Some dentists would also claim that their potions could prevent tooth decay or even restore teeth that were already decayed or damaged, a claim that was, of course, totally false. These miracle cures were often accompanied by exaggerated promises of immediate relief, which lured many to part with their money. Dentists were really thought of as being kind of scummy. Like in the 1600s, Lucas van Leyden painted a picture and it showed a dentist pulling a tooth out of somebody's mouth while his assistant is stealing money out of their bag. Another tactic they used for their con was straight up exaggerated claims. Because formal training in dentistry was virtually non-existent, many self-proclaimed dentists would boast of their incredible skills, claiming to be the best in their trade. They would often present themselves as highly experienced or well-traveled, and that is even if they had never properly treated a patient before. Some would claim to have learned their trade from ancient or secret sources, further adding an aura of mysticism to their services. One famous historical example of this is Pope Innocent.
I almost said fucking Vincent.
Pope Innocent VIII's physician, Johann Weyer, who was known to use charlatan-like practices. Though not a dentist, Weyer's association with dubious medical treatments and remedies reflects the broader lack of professional accountability during the time. A third tactic was painful and dangerous tooth extractions. While legitimate dentists or barber surgeons might have had some rudimentary training in tooth extraction, many of these practitioners were unqualified to perform such procedures. As a result, many patients found themselves in excruciating pain, having endured botched procedures. At a certain point during the 16th century, oral issues were a top 5 cause of death in London. Some so-called dentists might even report to distracting patients during the procedure by using alcohol or other forms of sedation to dull the pain. But in many cases, the procedure were so poorly performed that they caused serious complications, including infection, bleeding, or permanent damage to the surrounding teeth and gums. Many times people would need to get a tooth removed, and when they did, some of the jawbone would come along with it, causing a dire infection. And this came at a time when these untrained dentists were not sterilizing their tools. And I find myself asking, I'm like, wow, why are people going through this? But it's easy to forget, we have Google, we have ChatGPT, we can get in touch with 1 million doctors within the next day. Most of these people were illiterate and they didn't know any better. So if somebody came telling them they had a way to answer all their problems, they were willing to listen. And when you're illiterate and you don't have context to your medical problems, it's hard to pick between a real doctor and a fraudster. Therefore, anyone who claimed to be a dentist or a healer could set up shop and offer their services without oversight or accountability. After doing research on this video, I am convinced that all of the people that were dentists in a past life are now selling you courses on the internet. In time, as modern dentistry evolved, many of the fraudulent practices that had once been widespread in medieval society were exposed, and new standards of care were established. The Renaissance saw significant advancements in medicine, including dentistry. The Italian physician and surgeon Ambrose Pare, often called the father of modern surgery, was among the first to develop more refined surgical techniques that would eventually influence dental procedures. Pare worked on dental prosthetics and improved the understanding of oral hygiene. His work had a significant impact on the field of dental health. The 16th century also brought forward some of the earliest descriptions of dental cavities and their causes, laying the groundwork for modern theories of dental decay. Thank you, Mr. Da Vinci. However, dental care remained largely unaffordable and just out of reach for the general population, which we still see some of that today. But in the 1700s, dentistry began to separate itself from general surgery. Pierre Fauchard, a French surgeon, became known as the father of modern dentistry. Fauchard's landmark work, The Surgeon Dentist, published in 1728, is one of the first comprehensive treatises on dentistry. He described the nature of dental diseases and finally proposed some treatment for them. Fauchard was one of the first to recognize that cavities were caused by decay, and to suggest that they would be treated by removing the decayed tissue and filling the resulting hole with various materials. Fauchard also pioneered the development of dental instruments, including the dental drill, and explored ways to treat gum disease and prevent tooth loss. He even introduced the concept of the dental chair to make things a little bit more comfortable while they were ripping their bars out and ripping the teeth out. Then, the 19th century marked a period of rapid advancement in dental science. One of the most important breakthroughs was the discovery of anesthesia. In 1799, Humphrey Davy, an English chemist, discovered the anesthetic properties of nitrous oxide, laughing gas. Davy was initially investigating the effects of nitrous oxide as a recreational substance, but he quickly realized its potential to dull pain. He documented that inhaling the gas could bring on a state of euphoria, but more importantly in this context, it could dull the pain. Although Davy made this discovery, it wasn't immediately adopted in general health or dentistry, and dentists didn't begin experimenting with this until the 1840s. In 1844, American dentist Horace Wells pioneered the use of nitrous oxide during dental procedures. The innovation revolutionized dentistry by making pain-free treatments a reality, and the results were promising. Wells reported that the procedure was pain-free, and that he experienced no discomfort during the extraction. Encouraged by his success, Wells began using nitrous oxide in his dental practice. Unfortunately, there was a lot of trial and error in dosage, so some people might have handled it well, while others had borderline psychotic breaks, or were laughing so uncontrollably he couldn't stick his tools in there to do what he needed to do. Some patients even began to thrash around, unable to control their movements or respond to the dentist's commands. But despite the initial setback, Wells' experiment was an important milestone in the search for dental anesthesia. The same century also saw the advent of dental fillings and root canals, everybody's favorite topic at the doctor's office. In 1839, Edward Howard developed the first successful dental filling, using gold foil, while in the 1850s, Willoughby D. Miller proposed the germ theory of dental caries, which explained tooth decay as a bacterial infection. The 19th century also witnessed the creation of the first dental schools and the professionalization of the field. The world's first dental school, the Baltimore College of Dental Surgery, was established in 1840, marking the beginning of dentistry as a formal academic discipline. In the early 20th century, the development of local anesthesia further advanced dental practice. In the 1920s, fluoride was introduced as a key element to oral health. RFK Jr., why do you have a gun? Oh my God. Fluoride treatments helped to prevent tooth decay, and in the 1940s, fluoride was added to drinking water in several cities, leading to a sharp decline in cavities among the population. Now, this is a topic that people like to argue about all the time. Frankly, I know nothing about it, so rip me a new one in the comments if I'm wrong. The invention of X-rays in the late 19th century, followed by their use in dental offices in the early 20th century, enabled dentists to diagnose and treat problems inside the teeth and gums that were previously invisible to the naked eye. It also led to an astronomical amount of chronic health problems for dentists themselves. Getting the radiation from the X-ray machines, using mercury to fill cavities, not a good time to be a dentist, but we appreciate their sacrifice. They really did take one for the team. By the mid-20th century, cosmetic dentistry was all the rage. Innovations such as the development of porcelain veneers, dental implants, and teeth whitening techniques began to reshape the focus of dentistry, making it not only a science of health, but also a field concerned with aesthetics and beauty. In recent decades, technological advancements have transformed dentistry. Laser dentistry and 3D printing have improved precision in dental treatments and reduced recovery times. The introduction of digital X-rays and intraoral cameras have also enhanced the diagnostic capabilities and treatment planning. Moreover, modern dentistry emphasizes preventative care and minimally invasive techniques, with a focus on early detection and patient education. Though modern dentistry has made great strides, challenges remain in ensuring access to dental care worldwide. Many communities, especially in developing nations, face high hurdles when it comes to dental care. Well, there you have it. From ancient civilizations to today's high-tech, relatively pain-free procedures. From Johnny Depp to Bevo, dentistry has come a really long way. And now I'm a lot thankful for my dentists. With advances in materials, techniques, and technology, modern dentistry provides patients with an unparalleled level of care. And as the field continues to innovate and grow, who knows what will happen next? Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next one.